doing? This is my why. Over the next week, we're going to go through how we're going to back up Bob Chapek as he presents his plans to the board. Bob Chapek has 11 different brands he has to deal with. But to begin with, let's go with my why so you understand what is going on. Presently, my life is from what I have been able to garner, and I'll explain more so in a bit. My life is in danger due to structural racism and what has happened to racism in the African American community since the crime bill and even before then. But my why, what the situation is this drug dealer cartel member believes he's going to end his girlfriend, who is a trust funder who has never worked, really been able to hold a job her entire life, has threatened my life, and they threatened my life, and then the I stated it. It was like I don't really, which I'm gonna whatever. I make my own errors. I can deal with that. But what really matters, as I'm gonna show you, they threatened my family's life. And I'm gonna ask you this: how far would you go to protect your family from somebody who is absolutely a horrific person? All right, the MPT language pattern person. That's this person. I went on a walkabout, a person I thought had really only met really briefly and thought highly of, but it turned out they were just a very really rich drug addict, and their mom, they mimicked their mom. She is a female, mimicked their mom, and was trying to scapegoat me, and me being me, like, what did I do? Why are you doing this? I'm confused. 'Cause I didn't grow up in the hood. And this person's not in the hood, actually. They're actually in Santa Monica, California. So this is going to be really kick in the groin for a lot of people. See, he also has threatened other people before. She was gaslighting me, and as NPD people, what they do is they externalize themselves. Patients who are high on that spectrum, a lot of times we all kind of externalize ourselves, but to them it is actual. They're basically a 3 or 4 year old, so it's actual emotions are actual objects. And I'm a pretty decent dude. No matter how screwed up or weird or whatever I do, I'm pretty just like, hey, dude, you do you, man. I'm cool, bro. I am what most people say they are, but they're not. And so what that does is people try to constantly steal my persona, and the way they do it is say if you have 2 points A and B or A and C and the person and then point B in the middle, they do that through a lot of triangulation. So um, they're always trying to triangulate and Machiavellian, and their main thing is just basically triangulation using the dialectic. This one I've proven it over the time that this is what's going on, and so this is where the situation is right now. Somebody where I'm at, because there was two situations where I was helping out this vet, this guy, this one drug dealer where I was at. He was just getting these people hammered and smashed and destroying their lives, and he was hiding behind being black. And I was like, no, you can't do that. You're just being a jerk. Nobody really cares. That's how you kind of make your money. But what this is showing is this is a pattern that has happened within the African American community where these gangs and cartels destroyed entire neighborhoods. And now they're destroying the entire African American community as it's been glorified, this gangster thing. And realistically, it's actually just made helped perpetuate a terrible lie that's permeated across. So I sent a message the other day stating, "Look, I've already talked to the DA. I have said who you are, And I hadn't, and here's the best part, I hadn't done that. I hadn't done anything. And just recently, somebody moves in. They're talking to me, and I understand how information flows, and especially the information networks of the prison system. Basically, saying, and so this person didn't realize what they were doing, what they were telling me. So I stopped. So I don't know if she's a female right now. It's a female femme fatale. I don't know if she's just a lookout or if she's supposed to actually do the deed, but we'll see. I'm in another state, as I said, they're in California. So by doing that, having me as quote assassinated or attempted or create the conspiracy to have me assassinated, that is now across state lines. If they have spoken with anybody or paid for it with Bitcoin because they're trying to use apparently a white nationalist, because in the prison systems they break up like via race. Basically, it's a bunch of persons who are high on the Dr. Hare PCL check, I'd say checklist, but PCL. So they have to separate themselves so they can externalize. Because as I'll explain here in a little bit, locally in their area it would be the DA, and the irony is I said I never said anything to the DA, but he bit hard. Now, their goal is to use the underground housing to control the LA drug market. This has already been confirmed by me and confirmed by the person some of the persons will start this summer. Now, the thing is, if they to once Memorial Day, I'm pretty much assuming they're going to try to make the attack before Memorial Day, so that way they can externalize the negativity off of Memorial Day and then have a great summer and not have to worry about. But what they, as I've told them, killing me is not going to do anything, because what happens is that just kickstarts a process where an entity creates that created entity, then hires agents to do my bidding in death, and it will hunt them for the rest of their lives. It's already been set up, so they're going to try to look for the paperwork. But like, I'm that stupid to keep the paperwork with me. So you will see, and the whole thing that was going on, it was very long and drawn out. It's really, really more complex than I'm trying to say right here. But I'm just placing this out there because I want to show how. Because there's something that came up as we're getting through, that they're trying to mimic me as a person, and so as I just clicked on there, I think the Kardashians are the worst thing to ever happen to the African American community in the last 20 years. And the reason is, and it's going to definitely go back into this a little bit deeper in a bit, is they never dated any African American who, even if they came from the hood, started their own, got out without going being a thug, or have to act like they're hard or thug life. They built their business without there was somebody who went to school, built their business. There's all these athletes. There's always something that made them look better and that helped them with their kitschiness on their TV programming. So everything's about being a drug dealer and all this, and that's decimated the African American community, because feminine choice is picking these persons who the worst type of persons, and it's saying this is who your best person is. A person who's too stupid and too impatient to figure out how to play the game and make something of themselves without not knowing how to, and because they reject the people who know how to play the game and step around the minefields. Because institutional racism is a minefield, and it's built on the cultural way that African Americans have been taught to think over generations. I am Jamaican American. My dad is blacker than black. He's a blue black, but he started a business in two businesses in one of the most deep South racist areas in Florida. Amazing person. As I've gotten older, I've held a lot. Started, and they were successful, I should say. Are successful because one of them is still in existence. One was used to start the other. Same thing. But my grandfather has green eyes, but that's about it. Quote, light skin, as African Americans are so worried about colorization and whatever. You see what's happening with Serena Williams, which is BS. She has a loving husband. She should never have to change who she is. Hanging out in Hollywood too much. They need to go suck it. But what this is doing, I have the situation is I can bring a civil suit to to prove my position because it was harassment, brand theft, all multiple different ways. But the problem is from a civilization suit position, African Americans and Hispanic Americans, because of this, I won't be able to get a fair trial because African Americans are viewed as the monopole, drugs and gangs. That's all that they can do. That's what European Americans view African Americans as. And for that is the crime bill actually worked. It completely decimated the African American community, as I'll show you here more so in a bit. And another thing I wanted to is something for this is here. This is what really got my goat. This is Bo the Fifth Column. If you watch this, he was talking about, well, apparently I have my hypothesis from listening to this. It was written by this particular drug dealer and this female who's actually a lawyer, trained at Duke, went to Duke Law, but is basically a drug addict, and she's just a trust funder. And he's saying, and now I had placed out earlier where I'm asking Kathleen Kennedy to sit on the board with Carl Weathers to seek out underserved communities. Now, when I say underserved communities, I mean underserved communities such as Native communities, African American communities, Hispanic communities, anywhere there is poverty or near poverty. Because what's happened is without these jobs, without somebody to model the behavior necessary, besides being angry, which fits into the narrative that I'm African, that European Americans who are very bigoted use, there is nothing for growth within the African American community, though, especially from persons who are generationally African American. Most of the presently, Stacey Abrams, she's generationally African American. With Obama coming into presidency, it showed that a generation of African Americans, look, not all European Americans are absolute bigots. Most aren't actually. It's this small group of bigots who know how to whip up that fear. And that's the same thing that's happening. But when you understand this and understand language patterns with it, you can see this, what's going on. So what this means is, as a monopole, I can't get a fair trial. I can't DA or whatever. This, oh, just two dumb niggers. It was that until the dude actually attacked this European American dollhouse. What she did is she set him up using baiting, and I called it out. So therefore, there's proof where I said, "Oh yeah, you attacked dollhouse." Oh, and she's starting to like laugh. And I go, "Oh, that's what you baited him, which is fits within your pathology." Boom, body language change. Now, scientifically, body language are six different things in the Ekman, actually multiple. But these body language sets and emotions are scientific, and they are global around the globe. This false narrative, if it is proven that they wrote that and they sent that to Bo, the fifth column, that definitely means, because this person is not going to be able to write the things that he's writing. He damn sure hasn't read those books that he was stating he read. This was his. This was this lawyer, but since the lawyer is now is engaged in the act of a criminal act, there is no longer client attorney privilege, and I hope anyone that she's trying to tell that she now doesn't fall for it. Also, like to say to her, she, you go to jail. You did put that one, the thing of a power couple is our mugshot. You lose your trust, and then you've never lived without your trust as an adult. So it should be very interesting. There's now this is a situation with a minor celebrity in L.A. and they're going to use she's trauma bonded to this lawyer, and I'm going to show you this in a second what was said. And then that trauma bond threw me under the bus, threw her friends under the bus, a very young female DJ who looked up to her, who's a DJ right now. She's like, oh, and she was like, threw her under the bus to this drug dealer, threw under, and then throwing all her other friends under the bus. This is, it's pretty sad actually. It's actually fairly sad. Just how quick a person will throw another person under the bus. Now, previously in some of my theories, I talked about the how consciousness, this is power versus force, but my hypothesis, this is a normal tri-split person, with this being the masculine and then this being the feminine. This is a person, my hypothesis is how a person with NPD structured themselves, with this yellow actually being the brain. This is their super ego is totally in charge, where with the masculine it's just pure id, and so they do this bouncing back and forth with everything. If a psychopath, they are all what is it? Everything's an object, and with a person who's high on the MPD spectrum or who's high on the PCL spectrum, I mean, who's or if it's high on the PCL spectrum, everything's an object. If they're high on the NPD spectrum, everything is an emotion object. So this is Suge Knight. If anyone who knows how to read body language, they know. I don't know what Suge Knight did or didn't do, but I do know the type of people around you creates more type of people, and Mr. Knight was apparently the one who was a very negative person, and that's going to be brought into the underground house scene, which is supposed to be about happy, yo, dude, have a good time, about anybody. But this person is all about trying to use in the house scene, forcing other people to. There was a because I'm the one who I have the master's in entertainment business, so I looked at. I said, hey, dude, we can make some money. We can. There's whole kinds of opportunities here. We can work together as normal people, but they don't think that way. They've already stated. I've already been able to get to the state that their goal is to his goal is to use these people by force to to as a way of just selling more drugs, and also since they're extremely negative. Now this is the person who is highly who the old word was enmeshed, but it's trauma bonded. I was sitting there, I was getting gaslit. It was driving me bonkers. I was telling my shrink, I'm like, dude, my VA shrink, I'm about to fucking lose it. I'm barely holding it together. I'm really about to the point where I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna say what I was gonna do. So where I was not gonna be all that nice. But one of the main things is because this person said, hey, my son, I'm afraid. I'm like, okay, I'll keep going to figure out what's going on with your girlfriend, what's between these two. But it was really just so that way she can get trauma bonded back to her girlfriend. And she was using me. But what she does not understand is these cartels, and that's the other thing with Bo in the fifth column, with these cartels, you're not allowed to get out. And in that video, one of the things he was saying, well, it should, because I had stated it was oh, it should be, well, I'm using the redemption story. That redemption story is bullshit. It's played out. What it should be is the persons who are smart enough to get, as I said before, get out of the hood and then give back, and then they pick if that person, because what it's saying is this, what all of this gangster shit and all this crap has done to the African American community has said basically these psychopaths are your alphas. These people who can never be trusted. That is who And that is the culture where the African American culture has switched to. It wasn't the way I was. It wasn't the way it used to be, but that's the way it's switched to. Recently, they changed their workplace and everything because before this was Kaiser Permanente, permanent king. See here, what was the other one? Aerospace engineering. Right? They're basically saying drug dealer. Ha ha, you're stupid. You don't get it. And that's unacceptable. I assume that they are, as I said, the person I was talking to, there was a phase shift, and there are several different things. So I think this person's going to be a femme fatale. We'll know in the next day or so what the plan is. I'll pull that out of her, or if she's just supposed to be a lookout and identify or whatever. But there's a lot of movement stating that my and now my family's life is in danger because of this particular these drug addicts, and that's the thing. That's how they decimated the African American community in these. And what makes this worse, they're out of Santa Monica, California. And they're also now bullying European Americans, which is what I kept telling everybody as they're gaslighting me. He's going to attack you. This is not a game. This is not a drill. I am not your normal Huckleberry. But blah 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 blah, basically stating civilization is nothing compared to to who to them. And so here's the thing: what has happened? This is what has happened to the African American community because all of these people. Now you might not like who who's saying this, but this is coach. This is African American male. He's the same age. He's about 50, and so generationally African American. So and that makes a big difference because that's a culture. Culture transfers over. So the women now are picking these absolute assholes. The men are conditioning the women to pick these jerks, the persons who've gone to jail, and then you have the Kardashians going, "Oh, I'm so edgy. Oh, I got me one of these. Oh, I got one." As opposed, she wants to take African American man or whatever. That's her thing. But you're picking the people that are showing the worst of the African American man, black man, and that's not going to be as edgy. It's not going to make great TV, but it sure as hell going to do a hell of a lot better for the community because this is what's happening. You know, it sucks. It really sucks. So this is what situation. Recap. I sent it. I was on a walkabout. This person was didn't know what was going on. They threatened my life. I didn't really. I was like, whatever. Once I said whatever, which means now the only leverage they have is to threaten my family. Her highly enmeshed God. I was trying as I slowly was working out, trying to figure out what the heck it was. This was also the person in other videos where I learned the structure of persons with high NPD spectrum, who are high on the NPD spectrum, narcissistic personality disorder spectrum, because because I was able to map out their mind. I have a very unique gift that I could see memes, like literally see the information. So I can speak to one person and actually speak to other persons. I can speak to a person, and I can sit there and see that and speak to literally have a conversation with the id ego and super ego at different times within each sentence. It's absolutely it's cool, but sometimes it gets really annoying, and it's as easy as breathing for me. This is not something that I they this is just me. This is just as easy as you turn it on the tap to get a glass of water if you live in America or a Western country. So that back to that recap. So that's where we're at. I think they're going to try to kill me or have this person's femme fatale to attack. I will find out within the next several days. I'm going to throw that off. And as I said, that's so that way they can, this person, he's probably already stated, I'm going to be selling all this dope, and he's not. And we're not talking about pot. We're talking not even talking about ecstasy because I think it's coming out of the South. It's mostly opioids and physical drugs, that opioids and meth into the house scene, and not even acid. It's like, dude, it was just stuck with acid, and it just, and then also the violence, because he's already proven that he's willing to use violence. He had one of his associates try to threaten me, and then his associates threatened the house. That I don't know the dude's name, and also going through. He's all because as I was learning this person's learning about or narcissism, I was thinking I was trying to help this person with NPD, and he probably scores very high on the hair PCL checklist on the hair inventory. He was rewatching the videos. He's actually become a lot better. So also part of watching, studying his reactions was how I was able to learn and define the system of how they think and what they really are. So with that, just letting you know, this is where the life situation is. He, because not just am I in danger, it's also these other people who are surrounded by this person that are in danger. They're thinking it's just, oh, this is the black guy, but no, because one of the his henchmen that he sent to me to try to help me was Hispanic. This is a very dangerous thing for all involved. So that's my why, and over the next several days we'll continue on, because tomorrow is Disney Celebration, and we're going to work through how we back Bob Chapek in in a, you know, if we want Star Wars to be really kick ass and help and prove to him that, yeah, this is really what Star Wars is and how it can work, and that we as fans are willing to back him to help him. He's just starting off. This is his second year approximately to build a legacy and build upon what Bob Iger had laid down for him to build. All right, this is Morpheus Mirror. I look forward to see you on the next set of videos.